You're a certified bucket.
Yard. Up here.
How we doing today? Good. All right, well, welcome to Brooks Mine. This mine was opened in 1902 by Reese Brooks for the Scranton School of Mines. This was never an actual working mine. This was a model mine, which makes it also, it was also a tourist mine, which makes it the oldest anthracite mine tour in Pennsylvania right now that we just opened back up. So it's pretty exciting on our part. So when we first came in here, this whole place was in shambles. It was closed for almost 50 years. All the pillars were broken down. We ended up having to dig everything out. Everything that you see, from the ballast between the rails came out, the wood came out, everything came out. We had to start from scratch right from the beginning and work our way all the way to the back. As we walk through here, we're going to be walking through two veins of coal. You got the Dunmore number 2 vein on top, followed by about a 3-foot rock divider with the number 3 vein on the bottom, which you'll see a little bit over here. So as we came in, like I said, we had to set timbers, and that's these things here. One big misconception is a lot of people think that these hold the mines up. This holds the mine up. These do not. These are warning signs, warning signals. If something was to happen and the mine started taking weight, you'd hear these things popping, cracking, bowing, doing whatever, that they're not happy that they're taking weight. So if you see that thing starting to bow out, you better go out because something's about to come down. Okay. So shows us putting in pillars, putting in timbers. Now the only thing that's actually doing work in here is called 3-piece sets. That's this method of putting timbers in. And if you look here, you see the pictures. These are located right here in front of us. What you use them for is if there's a rock or a boulder or something like that, a slab of rock on top, that it doesn't make sense to bring it down, you would build a 3-piece set. You put that up, you crib all the wood up tight to it, so that way if it was to take weight or something was to happen, it won't come down. It pushes the weight to the wall and it still leaves for a safe passage up underneath. So you're good to go. Be able to bring in here at some point once we finish our rail line up the end of the portal up there. So there's some pictures here of us bringing rail, doing all the rail work. We have, when these rails come in, they're straight. We have to bend these things. We have a rail bender up there. Looks like a big jack screw with a C-clamp on it. And that's how we bend the rails. You have to remember, above your head is sandstone. So there's a lot of fossils. There's a petrified tree right above your head. Right there. So keep a lookout. Up here at the intersection, there's a big tree that goes all the way across the mine. It's actually pretty cool. There's a lot of, when they picked this part, they picked a good spot because there's a lot of fossils and stuff around it. Pretty neat. And you got little tiny layers of coal that are leader veins. And when that happens, there's a chance of it separating. So that's why we put this all up to make sure everything's safe passage. So, Jerry's there. Not in here.
So about 40% of the coal was taken out. They couldn't take it all out. Unless they got permission to route the pillars. Sometimes they just route them anyway. But this was the room and pillar bed. They'd go sideways off of their main gangway, take the coal out, and they would leave what we would call a pillar. So in this demonstration mine, there's 2 pillars. So we go all the way around each of them. We talked about the 2 layers of coal that's up on top and then there's a layer of rock. You don't always have that. Generally, in a coal seam, it's going to be solid coal top to bottom. And they're going to leave a pillar of coal. Those pillars were surveyed and engineered so that each layer of coal had a pillar one over the other to form a column. If you didn't do that, the whole roof system would become unstable. So they tried to columnize the pillars. Generally how it was done. Anybody have any questions? sit back there. There were a couple of tree species that aren't around anymore. It looks like fish scale or back there. The top, if the roof was questionable, generally here we did it to show you how this roof has been pretty good in here.
But it's simulated dynamite shots right here. So we drilled these holes and wired it up like we fire the explosives.
Yeah.
So that's basically how we drove the escapeway outside that Scott's going to show you about in just a little while. Everybody had to have a second way out, so we had to create one because that was one of the reasons mine closed when the next.
That would go around, that would go, again, all three of these.
So we wired this thing up, just like a shot would be. Attempt to take dynamite in there.
All the way around. That's probably
We would use a plunger like Bugs Bunny used to blow his Daffy Duck with. That's still today. But today we have it's called a firing battery.
These are pillars of
So this thing we wire up to the firing line, and of course I wouldn't stand this close. You walk around the corner and go a little bit farther away so you don't blow yourself
Yeah,
up.
carbon dioxide
This
and
thing
also methane gas.
button down to charge the firing battery up. And it's just a couple D batteries and a big capacitor.
We have
The light turns
safety
red,
lamps
you're ready to
right
go.
there, hanging on
So
the
she starts
wall.
flashing,
There's one right
and push the
there.
button, it goes boom, and it blows the mine up.
That's
Doesn't blow the mine up.
1900 or 1890s.
Whole thing, and pound this pin into it, and then the drill shaft is threaded, it goes through this thread box, so as you turn the drill steel just advances itself through and drills into the coal, so you don't actually have to push it with any physical labor, you just have to turn the thing, which sounds a little easier, but it's still, it's not the nice way to do things. Today we have compressed air-powered pneumatic drills to drill the coal, which is what we used over here. So, watch your step coming up this way. It's a little bit slippery on the bottom with the rain. This over here. So this is a pneumatic drill. I ran one of these for 4 years underground from 2008 to 2012, driving rock tunnels between different veins of coal. This would be a kind of a difficult line to actually work because you can't, so you got 30 inches of coal on the top and 2 feet of coal on the bottom with a 4-foot rock divider between them. And you can't fire the coal and the rock at the same time because then you have a pile of coal and rock on the ground and you don't get paid to send the rock to the breaker, do you, Dale? Not at all. No, you can't have rock in your coal car else you get your pay docked. So now you got to take all your rock and they call it gobbling it on the side, you build stone walls. So normally you would drill and fire the rock first, gobble it on the side, and then drill and fire your coal. So this drill here is called a jack leg, and the way this thing works is there's a pneumatic cylinder on the bottom. Like I said, this runs off compressed air. There's a throttle on the back, and it's like a motorcycle throttle. And as you increase the air pressure back here, it actually lifts the drill and pushes it into the hole. This is your throttle for the drill speed. So it works like a regular jackhammer rock. So as you have the jackhammer going, you're working your air pressure on the back, and you can actually run this with one hand because it's drilling the hole in. And it takes about 2 minutes to put one hole in, and about 10 minutes to drill the whole shot pattern. One really nice thing about this drill, well, one, it's got a leg because the drill weighs about 125 pounds. So this thing right here does all the work. The other nice thing is that rock dust is really bad for you. Rock dust is worse than coal dust, and everybody knows about black lung disease. But you get silicosis even faster with rock dust. So this drill has a water input right here that normally your gangway down by the tracks would have a water ditch on the side, so the water would flow, because there's always water in mines. The water goes in the ground, it has to go somewhere, right? If there's an open tunnel, that's where it's going to go. So you put a pump in the water ditch or down in the sump. When we drilled these holes, we had 450 feet of garden hose we took over to the Everhart Museum. So what the water does is there's a water needle in here, and the drill steel has a hole through the center of it, and there's a hole in the bit. So as you're running the drill, the water goes into the hole, it takes the dust and turns it into mud and water, and then that comes back out the hole. But it's going in there at 120 psi. So since it's going in the hole at 120 psi, that means it comes out of the hole at 120 psi. So guess who's on the other end of that hole? Right now, Dale Kecklock is. But don't worry, I'll block the blast for you. So you get pretty wet when you're running this thing, but it's better than sucking rock dust down. So we have the shot pattern laid out here. We have a tamping stick in the side. We have a little blue reflective tape on that because, well, all your tools you put reflective tape on because they all turn black eventually anyway, and you can't find them anywhere. We learned that from experience. But after you drill your first hole, you put a stick in it, that you use to tamp the dynamite in. That way you have you have something to follow, because you need to make sure all the holes are parallel with each other. So as we're drilling this one, you can steer the drill around and you follow the angle of that one, both in elevation and in yaw, to make sure that the back side of the holes are all together. They're not, they're not all cocked off like this, otherwise the shot won't go off properly. So the way we have it drilled is the center.
I'm going out.
The center has this little cross in the middle to make a hole. So when this goes up, you don't fire it all at the same time. The timers, they go off at like milliseconds from each other. So when you fire the suicide, it would go off like that. And the center blows off first, then the outside, and then the farther outside, and then the bottom, so then it kind of lifts the pile out. That's the jack leg. You guys have any questions while we're here? No?
Yeah, you still a miner?
I go down a couple times a year to stay current, but right now we're just doing this tour mine work, and I build airplanes for a normal job.
Oh, nice.
And playing coal mines on the weekends. Does he? Well, so where does he fly out of?
Flies JFK.
Oh, big airplanes, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. How's it going, ladies? Oh yeah. How's your walk going so far? Awesome.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming today. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself. I want to show you the culmination of our project here, which was the second escape point. Now, by Pennsylvania state law, you have to have two openings. That's the reason why this mine closed in '75. It didn't have two openings. So one of the things that we had to do to open it up to the public was drive a secondary opening. So what we're looking at right here is the opening that we did. Now imagine at one time this was solid coal. We spent 4 days, 12-hour shifts driving that in the actual coal face. We used 75 sticks of dynamite. We took out over 30 tons of coal just to make the opening, to make this mine open to the public. Yeah. I love this though because my grandfathers were all coal miners, and I never knew my grandfather ever to bend his knees because his knees were so bad from working underground. And when you're up there, you're only on your hands and knees because you never take the rock. You always take the coal. So that if the coal seam's only 30 inches in height, you're working in a 30-inch seam, and you're working in a 30-inch height underground. So we drove that out again back in May, 4 days straight, 12 hours straight to get all that coal out. And this chamber that you're standing in right now was almost filled to the top with all the coal that we got out of there. We donated it to Casey Casa Coal, which is down towards Nanticoke, and they donated some money back to us. So it was a win-win situation. Because we can't exactly sell the coal, because that would put us in the active coal mines. We had to get rid of it. So they gave us a donation back. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for me before you exit the mine or walk on out? We tried to make it as dark as possible so it looks aesthetic, but there are some holes back there that allow some light to come through. But again, the worst part of this whole situation was after dynamiting it, after you get back so far, the coal doesn't come out on its own. So what we had to do was we get 5 guys in a row. One guy would shovel to the next, which would shovel to the next, which would shovel to the next, and eventually pile it out here. Now we're doing it all on our hands and knees too. Yeah.
How long did it take?
We did it over a 4-day period of time, and it took us a 12-hour shift. We did 12 hours straight, 4 days in a row.
What time of the day would you set the dynamite on?
We did it as soon as we had the holes drilled.
Yeah.
As soon as we would drill 6-foot holes, pack them, detonate it, and if we had more time, we drilled.
How loud would the noise reverberate out?
You heard it a little bit outside, but you didn't. Most people didn't even know what was going on. Most people didn't even know what was going on. Again, any other questions, folks?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
I have no idea which one's to ask you about.
Anything you want here, I'll try to answer. That is actually a survey thing. It actually come underground and survey it to make sure that we're going in the right direction. They survey on the ground. They survey. On the ceiling, those are actually old plant life. All fossils. Here's another one right here.
A lot of other fossils all throughout the mine. When they put this in, they picked a really good spot because there's a lot of fossils all throughout the mine. Cool.
I'll leave it around for you.
Feel very interesting.